Welcome to Recreation Rendezvous. I am Julie Ramey with Bloomington Parks and Recreation, and we are thrilled to be talking today at the Redefined Podcast Studio at the Banneker Community Center, located at 930 West 7th Street here in Bloomington. The podcast equipment was purchased a few years ago, and we are so excited to have it up and running and ready to record the new edition of Recreation Rendezvous. A big shout out to Macy Evans at B97, who got Recreation Rendezvous off the ground the whole of last year, the whole of 2024 at the B97 studio. So thanks and big shout out to them for getting us started. But back to Banneker. Banneker's hopping today. Banneker's open every weekday with free programming for preschools and toddlers and their families. And they're all here to take advantage of free programs and the open facility. And we are here today with a special guest to talk about some really exciting news about a brand new park coming to Bloomington, just a few blocks away from where we're sitting right now. So here with me today to talk about Hopewell Commons is the Parks and Recreation Department Director, Tim Street. Tim, welcome to the inaugural podcast that we are recording here at the Banneker Community Center.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, yeah, first, Tim, give us a snapshot, a little bit about your background, and tell our audience a little bit about your time with Bloomington Parks and Recreation. You've been here now for a few years and have got to open some new facilities.
That's right. So I started with the department January of 2021. I started as the Operations and Development Division Director. I served in that role for about 4 years. And when our previous director retired and we had the change in administration to Mayor Carrie Thompson, I was appointed as the new Parks and Recreation Director at the start of last year, 2024. And I have a long background and a long love of outdoor recreation and what it provides for people, and believe strongly in the power of people having shared outdoor experiences together. And yeah, I'm honored to be able to shepherd our Bloomington parks.
Yeah, great. And you come to us from Bradford Woods.
I spent 10 years at Bradford Woods, living in the woods and doing all things camp and recreation therapy related. It was a really great place, but yeah, I'm happy to be here back in Bloomington now, where I also went to school.
Well, fantastic. Well, thanks for sitting down today and talking about Hopewell Commons. So, first of all, start by telling us about our vision or the vision for this new urban park and how it fits into kind of the broader redevelopment of the former Bloomington Hospital site.
Sure. And the story of Hopewell Commons and the hospital redevelopment goes back quite a few years before my time with the department. And if you went back, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when there were inklings and ideas that the Bloomington Hospital was going to relocate to the east side and vacate its current building, its former building, it's gone now, in the downtown area around 2nd Street, as well as a number of outbuildings that serve the hospital. There was an ambulance outbuilding, there was a laundry outbuilding. All of that, sort of came up in the public eye, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And the former administration wanted to basically have a hand in having site control over how this area was redeveloped, and decided with the redevelopment commission to purchase the land from IU Health and to basically prime it for redevelopment into housing and other basically neighborhood services, and worked on a master plan for the redevelopment. And I can't speak too much personally to this because I wasn't here in the city and involved in that role, but I know that took place heavily in 2020, even before and during and through the pandemic, to shape a master plan for the site, to basically determine what would happen with these different areas, which have come to be known as Hopewell East, which is where Hopewell Commons is, Hopewell West, which will be redeveloped in the future, and Hopewell South. And so the vision is, really and developed through the master plan to create a new neighborhood for Bloomington. We've heard a lot about housing shortages and the unaffordability of housing, and the desire is to really take this area and make it a place where people can live and play and recreate and have great access to downtown Bloomington, to the Beeline Trail and all the things that it connects, through a pedestrian heavy area. So that is really the vision, and the Parks Department really got more heavily involved after the master plan process. When I was the operations director, the master plan process really kind of came to the conclusion that there should be some type of public space here. And there was some discussion about, well, how do we maintain a public space here? Could it be done through HOA organizations? But in the end, no. We said if for it to truly be a public space, it needs to be publicly maintained. And that is how the Parks Department ultimately got involved with the design of Hopewell Commons in Hopewell East, which again, so Hopewell East is the 4 block area between 1st and 2nd Streets, north and south, and Rogers and Morton Street, east west. So just west of the Seminary Square Kroger. And again, yeah, Parks got involved to basically determine how we can design this to what the master plan said we should design, and in a way that serves the greatest number of people and does a great public good.
Well, I know we talk a lot about things like pocket parks and neighborhood parks. So Hopewell Commons is not a big sprawling complex. It's fairly small.
It is fairly small. The actual, park space overall for this is just a little bit more than 1 acre. And it's unlike anything else we really have in our system right now. So Switchyard is our newest park. It's big, it's sprawling, it's green, it's a lot of trails, it's a lot of trees, it's a lot of green space. This one compares a lot more to a people's park, actually, a very urban plaza gathering space where people can come together. It's actually situated along the new east-west road that is University Street, and while it has green, certainly there are a lot of more urban infrastructure aspects to it that will really serve as sort of an urban gathering space and hopefully a neighborhood hangout and important social infrastructure for the neighborhood and for Bloomington right in this area.
Now, the park was under construction most of 2024, and it kind of unofficially opened or was ready. And the winter 2024-2025, we got a lot of snow, not super great weather, but we are going to do a big grand opening in April to introduce Hopewell Commons to the community. Tell us what kinds of things that we can look forward to seeing in this unique small park.
Yeah. So the park, as you mentioned, sort of had a soft opening here at the end of construction. The roads haven't opened yet. That's something that will yet be done through the Board of Public Works. And once those get opened, I think we'll see a lot more people getting in there. And once we finally get out of this winter in the snow everywhere and have some nicer days, I think people will be really excited to discover what's here. So basically, as I mentioned, it's a linear sort of urban park, which is why we decided to call it a commons rather than a park. Maybe just a slight difference in connotation there with those words. But it's got a lot of public seating in especially the eastern block, areas to gather, areas to play. We've got a couple of concrete ping pong tables, which I think will be really fun. People can go out there. It is bring your own paddle right now for people to play. There is some lawn space for people to relax on. It's lit up really well at night. The lighting is really pretty at night. I think it sets a really nice mood. There's a great pavilion space, sort of a sun shelter. There's some, just like at Switchyard Park, we've heard a lot of positive comments about the bench swings. We've got some similar sort of bench swings right off the beeline there that are really cool and actually quite comfortable to sit in. And then as you move west and you slightly go uphill with University Street towards the old hospital, you'll come across, we've got a little bit of a stage that sort of doubles as just a seat wall there. We've got umbrellas we can put out for maybe small concerts, small events, gatherings, things like that in that space. And then into the western block, as you cross Madison, there's a lot of native plants in a swale there. There's a little bit of a bridge. We've added some, of course, it's Indiana. We've added some limestone. We've got to have limestone in our parks here in Indiana. Yeah, it's a really just great gathering space and thoroughfare, I think. And as we see the neighborhood develop in Hopewell East and to the west, I think we'll see it be a vital connector for people to the Beeline and even to the grocery store, which is an important neighborhood resource as well.
Yeah, you alluded to the kind of the green space and native plantings. So Hopewell Commons has a mix of some kind of developed and hardscaping, and you mentioned the stage and the seating. And then there's an area that is intended to be more green and passive. Tell us about that kind of design concept. And was that a deliberate choice?
It was, and it's also in part a stormwater solution because this area does, and more importantly, as further development comes in the future, will continue to serve as stormwater drainage for the area. So the whole sort of park area in the western block is a swale that is full of native plants that we don't anticipate it holding water on a regular day, but when it rains, it can sort of fill up with water and slowly drain into there's a large stormwater facility that will then run underneath the eastern block with an integrated holding tank that will fill up with stormwater that we can then use to irrigate the area. So we don't have to use our city water to irrigate the plants there. So trying to integrate some good design features there that are eco-friendly and sustainable conscious to maintain this park well.
And maybe something to really keep in mind is that the way that it looks now, the whole area is slated for redevelopment, different parcels all around Hopewell Commons. Right now, it's sort of a blank slate. So Hopewell Commons kind of sticks out and it's really visible from a long distance away, but all the area around it is going to be developed. So how do you design a park knowing about all the changes that are coming to the neighborhood?
Absolutely. So when we were in design phase for this, which was probably the majority of the year 2022, um, I was new to having input on a design of an urban park like this, and we really spent some time looking at other similar urban parks that we thought had the feel of what we imagined this could be 5 or 10 years down the road. Obviously, development takes time. Right now, there's empty lots on basically 3 of the 4 corners around Hopewell Commons, but we know that won't be the case in the future. And so, looking at examples, one very much more urban example we looked at was Fountain Square in Cincinnati. That's a similar small park that provides a sort of anchor point for that portion of downtown Cincinnati. I grew up there, so I was familiar with that. And another more local example that we really looked at that I think is something we could expect Hopewell Commons to resemble in the future as development comes is Midtown Plaza in Carmel. That has a lot of striking similarities to this because Midtown Plaza is right on the Monon Trail. And here in Bloomington, Hopewell Commons is right off the Beeline Trail. Very similar that one edge of the park has that major transportation and recreation infrastructure. And then, ultimately around that park was developed a mix of housing, especially on upper floors, with some first story restaurants and retail and fun things. And I recall we looked at that in the past, and they had a World Cup watch party there one time, and people were gathering. And there's a Sun King brewery, and I hope as we look back at this park in 5-10 years, as the development comes in and we see it truly activated, that is something we can reflect on and see that success. But right now, it's a little bit of maybe a field of dreams kind of scenario where if we build it, they will come.
Well, we already know that there's at least some things happening very purposefully and deliberately in Hopewell Commons
Mhm.
in summer of 2024, one of which is the Tuesday Market. The Tuesday Market has been at Switchyard Park for the past couple of years, and we're going to try it this year at Hopewell Commons. You mentioned the Beeline Trail. It should be easy for people to get to. Tell us a little bit about some of the proposed activation that you mentioned. How are we going to bring people to Hopewell Commons?
Absolutely. So while we envision that very active future I was just talking about in the future, obviously we don't have the development and the neighbors living right around the park right now. And we want to find ways to, entice people to come and check out the new space and make it a part of their routine. So we are going to have Tuesday farmers markets, as you mentioned, in the summer here at Hopewell Commons. Um, the park and the roads have been designed in such a way that in the future we'll be able to even shut down roads for things, events that might involve food trucks. Maybe we have a World Cup watch party there in the future, or something along those lines. Um, right now, because we know the development won't be coming in right away, and maybe even for a couple years on some of these lots, we have put in a pad to host temporary pickleball courts. So we've seen some other municipalities. There's actually these tile interlocking pickleball courts that you can roll out and use in different spaces as long as they're flat and even. You can sort of roll out a pickleball court. We wanted to put that here, but we didn't have a permanent space, knowing that it will eventually develop. And so we decided to invest in these temporary courts that we can put here until a development comes. We have a lot of demand for pickleball. A lot of people want to play that. I think it'd be really cool to have these right on the Beeline for people who who live in the downtown area to hop on a bike or walk or roll or whatever it is, here to come play pickleball. And in addition, I know we're going to have some music as part of our Tuesday Farmers Markets this summer. Try out our new stage and everything there as well.
A lot of great things coming to Hopewell Commons. And anyone out there in Radio Land who wants to learn more about Hopewell Commons can visit the Bloomington Parks and Recreation website at bloomington.in.gov/parks. That's a great place to find out more about all the things going on in Parks and Recreation at the Banneker Community Center and, of course, at the new Hopewell Commons. And we definitely tune in at a later date because we are looking forward to the big grand opening that we have scheduled for April 2025. So we hope to see everybody down there in April 23rd, 2025, to check out the ping pong tables, the pickleball courts, the log scrambles. There's a little bit of play element in it. That's
Yeah, I did
really
not mention
cool.
that one. Yeah, there is a log scramble as
There's
well,
a
which I
log
think will be
scramble for
fun.
all
That's right.
ages. Anybody can use the log scramble. So lots of fun things coming up here in Parks and Recreation, and especially in the new Hopewell Commons. So the time is up for today. We'd like to thank you for listening to Recreation Rendezvous with me, Julie Ramey from Bloomington Parks and Recreation, and our special guest, Tim Street, the director of the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department. And a big thank you to our production staff and podcast wizard, Caleb Poor, who's going to make this podcast sound even more amazing. So we will see you next time at Recreation Rendezvous at the junction of nature and play.